What if the greatest dark fantasy story ever told was left unfinished by death itself? About 36 years ago, a super famous story was created that changed cartoons and video games forever. Many fans say it's one of the best Japanese comics ever made. It showed dark ideas, mean-looking art, and tricky human feelings in ways no one expected. It sold more than 60 million copies all over the world, which is more than many popular old stories. If the person who wrote it hadn't passed away so young, that number would be even bigger. Lately, this amazing story has started being made again. But because the new writer couldn't write like the first one, it caused a lot of arguments. This famous story is called Berserk. For many fans, it's sad that it was never finished. But now, it's teaming up with a game called Diablo Immortal, which has helped many Berserk fans feel better. In this part, I'll tell you about how amazingly great this story is. A quick heads up, if you get upset by scary or upsetting things, be ready. What if the hero you trusted most was the one who doomed everything you fought for? The early part of the Berserk story is about a weak person becoming strong. The world is in a mess because of arguments about who's in charge. A war that lasted 100 years between two countries left many people dead, but it also created a group of fighters called the Band of the Hawk, made up of regular people and even thieves. The leader of the Band of the Hawk is the silver-haired man named Griffith, who is charming and has big dreams. He wants to make his kingdom. With his smart leadership, the Band of the Hawk got through all the problems and helped the person who hired them win the war. They ended the 100-year fight. Such big achievements made the king do something new. He gave special titles and awards to these soldiers who were not born rich. At the same time, Griffith, with his charm and smarts, won the princess's heart. It looked like his dream was about to come true. This summary might sound simple, but the cartoon took over 20 episodes to get to this point. If Berserk had ended with the Band of the Hawk's success, it would have just been an okay story. What made it amazing was what happened next. What happens when your closest friend walks away and takes your entire reason for living with them? Griffith had two very strong fighters helping him. One was Guts, known for cutting down hundreds of enemies by himself in battle. The other was Casca, famous for being like a brave warrior woman on the battlefield. The three of them are the main characters of Berserk. Their connection is much more than just a boss and his helpers. Guts was Griffith's enemy at first, but Griffith became interested in him. After a fight where they both risked their future, Griffith won, and Guts had to join him. They fought many battles together and trusted each other a lot. You could say Griffith's success couldn't have happened without Guts. As for Casca, Griffith saved her once, and she followed him into battle, starting to like him. But as time went on, Casca realized her feelings for Griffith were more like looking up to him than real love. The one she truly loved, the one she wanted to have children with, was Guts. With this love triangle set up, things quickly got more serious. Just when the Band of the Hawk was at its greatest glory, Guts suddenly said he was leaving. Why? Because he once heard Griffith say that only equal people could be called his friends. This made Guts feel very hurt, because he always thought of himself as a true friend. So he decided to leave after helping Griffith win, to find his own way and one day be as great as Griffith. But Griffith didn't want Guts to leave. He even used a sword to threaten him, starting another fight. This time, the experienced Guts won with one hit and walked away. No one expected that this leaving would completely break Griffith. His feelings for Guts were much deeper than Guts had known. It was pure wanting to own him. What if the fall of a single man was enough to drag the entire world into hell? That night, feeling very sad and alone, Griffith secretly went into the princess's room. He never thought that one act would destroy all the glory he had built for 10 years. The next day, he was caught. The king ordered him to be put in prison and tortured for 3 years before he would die. But the king's hate wasn't just about disrespecting the royal family. Even more disturbing, the king had weird feelings for his daughter. Griffith's actions were seen as the ultimate betrayal. The Band of the Hawk, now without a leader, was called traitors and hunted down. Casca, as the temporary leader, did everything she could to keep the group alive. But after a year of being chased, the once great Hawks were almost destroyed. Just when they were about to be wiped out, the strongest man, Guts, suddenly came back to save them. When he heard about what happened to Griffith and the Hawks, he couldn't believe it. The Griffith he knew would do anything to make his dream come true. How could he fall apart so easily? But then Casca said, "Griffith can't live without you." That shocked Guts deeply. Casca blamed everything on Guts leaving, but deep down, she knew it wasn't his fault. After letting out her feelings, they made up and their relationship grew quickly. They even made a love right there, and afterward, decided to rescue Griffith together. Soon after, with a good plan and help from the princess, they snuck into the prison where Griffith was held. But the moment they opened the cell, everyone was shocked. The once proud Griffith now lay on the ground like a worm, skin and bones. His body parts were cut, his tongue was cut out. Even Guts, who had seen many terrible things, couldn't stand the sight. Full of anger, Guts used his big sword, killing guards without mercy, and saved Griffith. But when the group saw Griffith's condition, their happiness turned to sadness. The man they hoped would lead them again was now completely broken. Casca, realizing the truth, cried a lot. She had planned to escape with Guts after saving Griffith, but she couldn't bring herself to leave him. Guts couldn't either. Surprisingly, Casca told Guts to go find his way instead of staying stuck. They didn't know that Griffith heard everything from the wagon. As I said before, Griffith's wanting to own Guts had reached an "if I can't have him, I'll destroy him" level. Now he was broken beyond recognition. A useless shell compared to the strong man Guts had become. Sadness took over him, the hurting, the broken dreams, and realizing that Guts had become stronger than him, all pushed Griffith to the edge. This was the start of his turning to darkness, and it would pull the whole world into hell. What would you give up to achieve your dream, your friends, your soul, your humanity? Now it's time to talk about the most important item in Berserk, the Crimson Behelit. It's a strange egg-shaped object given to Griffith by a fortune teller when he was a child. Legend says the Behelit lets the person who holds it give up what they care about most to get magic power. Griffith always wore it as a necklace, but it was thrown into the sewer when he was put in prison. Yet the Behelit seemed to move by itself and came back to him shortly after he was saved. So what happened next? I think you already know. Griffith, now full of darkness, used the Behelit and gave up the entire band of the Hawk. The Behelit showed its true form with a twisted face, and the world was thrown into darkness. The sky and earth were filled with scary faces. Screams of lost souls echoed everywhere. Suddenly, monsters surrounded the band of the Hawk. They cheered, shouting that an angel had come. Far away, 4 huge figures appeared. One of them, a giant with his brain showing, spoke, "Welcome to the eclipse." The scary ceremony had 1 star, Griffith. He would join the 4 as the 5th member, becoming a demon king. But to do so, he had to give up everyone he once led. Guts screamed in anger, furious, that they would turn Griffith into a monster, but the female demon laughed at him. "You're wrong," she said. "This was Griffith's choice. He wants to give you all up." Shocked, Guts stared at the man he once saved, now silent and cold. Before anyone could react, the giants announced the start of the feast. A huge hand made of faces lifted Griffith into the sky. He seemed to wait for a moment until he saw Guts climbing toward him, and he remembered this man had shaken his dream, ruined everything. Without waiting, Griffith said the word, "sacrifice." The hand closed around him, stopping Guts from reaching him. Then flames burst from the cut in the sky, burning every member of the Hawks with the mark of sacrifice. Right away, monsters came down like hungry wolves, eating everyone. Screams filled the air. The horror was so intense I can't show it here. Each death made Griffith's change stronger. Only Guts remained, fighting with all his strength. His anger even shocked the demons. Finally, as Griffith finished changing, Guts saw what he had become, and he was met with betrayal. Griffith ordered monsters to hold Guts down, and then terribly hurt Casca right in front of his eyes. It was a cruel act to destroy Guts emotionally. At that moment, Guts was filled with pure hate. He even cut off his left arm to get free and ran at Griffith. But he was overwhelmed by monsters who poked out his right eye. He could only scream in pain. Just then, a Skull Knight appeared and saved Guts and Casca. The eclipse ended, but the real time of darkness had only just begun. Even though Guts and Casca escaped, Casca's mind was broken. And Guts became the one-eyed sword fighter. Still, he carried her and promised to get revenge on Griffith. What if the price of ultimate power was the soul of everyone you ever loved? Thus began the real story of Berserk. Because of the brand of sacrifice, Guts would forever be hunted by Griffith's apostles, the very monsters from before. And not just that, the entire world had now become a hellish place. The Crimson Behelit was the cause of it all. It lets its owner cause the eclipse when they feel despair by offering something they love. That's how they become a demon king. But the Behelit's true job is to be a key linking the real world to the spirit world. It's a tool for the God Hand, the same 4 giants from before, to mess with the real world. Simply put, the Behelit puts the real world on top of the demon world, turning everything into a strange mix of humans and monsters. And Griffith, having been reborn, started his dream again to make his kingdom. He created a new army, the Band of the Falcon, made of both humans and apostles. They fought wars all over the land. Because the story takes place in a time like old Europe, religious unfairness and holy wars were everywhere. In short, the world became a total mess. Guts stood as the world's last bit of good. His only goal was revenge against Griffith and the God Hand behind him. He killed apostle after apostle, never giving up. No matter how bad things seemed, with only a human body and a big sword, he fought gods and demons. He showed no mercy to enemies, but was very kind to people who were being hurt. He was like a beautiful, fierce storm, with a huge body and scars all over, a fake left arm, and a giant dragon slayer sword. His fighting style was an amazing sight. You could say Guts is the best part of Berserk, and this very charm is perfectly shown in Diablo Immortal. The team-up between Diablo Immortal and Berserk is a perfect mix of 2 worlds. Both are set in chaotic places, showing how humans grow and how they challenge godlike beings. The World Stone in Diablo Immortal has a similar job to the Behelit in Berserk. This special event mixes the best parts of both universes. The game adds a new special item, the Crimson Behelit. This is the true heart of the Berserk story. Along with it, related storylines are added, including a perfectly copied Eclipse scene. As Berserk's most famous character, Guts is also copied in the game, showing his most famous Berserker armor look. In the original story, Guts meets a witch on his journey and gets the Berserker armor. The armor changes based on how the person wearing it feels inside. Guts' strong will turns him into a black beast of anger. The armor stops pain. Even if all his bones are broken, it forces them back into place. It lets Guts keep fighting, but it might make him lose his mind or his life. And in Diablo Immortal, players can wear this armor skin and play through the crossover story. As Guts' sworn enemy, Griffith also gets a special skin in the game, perfectly copying how he looks. A major character not to forget in Berserk is Zod the Immortal. He was the first monster shown in the series, and the only monster that Guts and Griffith fought together. Later, Zod became an apostle under Griffith and turned against Guts. Zod saw the 2 go from friends to deadly enemies. Of course, he also appears in Diablo Immortal. Players can fight him as either Guts or Griffith. But that's not all. The crossover also adds 8 famous weapons from Berserk, all available for free, showing a lot of respect. Of course, there's more crossover content. You can download Diablo Immortal to try it yourself. Relive the heart of Berserk by playing the game. What if the greatest story in dark fantasy was never meant to have an ending, and its deepest secrets died with its creator? Many say the sad part of Berserk is not just its story, but the sadness that the writer passed away before finishing it. Many puzzles are still not solved after his death. For example, who the Skull Knight is, who saved Guts and Casca during the eclipse, and helped Guts many times on his journey. His past was never fully explained. Nor was the full truth of the spirit world behind the Behelit, nor where the God Hand themselves came from. Even if Casca could ever get her mind back is unknown. Most importantly, the final big fight between Guts and Griffith never truly began. And yet first, we have to mention the Crimson Behelit. It's a rare, special kind of Behelit. Its shape and how it works are similar to the regular ones. Both cause the eclipse and give magic power through sacrifice. But here's the big difference. Normal Behelits turn users into apostles who work for the God Hand. But the Crimson Behelit, which only appears once every 200 years, lets the user become one of the God Hand. The current owner of the Crimson Behelit is Griffith. During Guts' journey for revenge, he has killed apostles and even taken regular Behelits, but he never used them, because Guts doesn't need demon power. His strength comes from hate, strong will, and being very good with his body. This further proves his bravery to fight gods and demons as a human, even though Guts never caused the eclipse himself, one of the God Hand. The female demon who appeared when Griffith became powerful has her eye on Guts. She's fascinated by his never-ending anger and energy. She wants to be stabbed by the Dragon Slayer's sword behind Guts' back. In short, she's a weird, bad demoness. She once got stabbed by Guts' sword and was so happy, she made sounds of pleasure, calling Guts "my dear" and kissing him. Truly crazy. It's important to know that she supposedly became part of the God Hand by giving up the baby in her tummy. Along Guts' journey for revenge, he slowly went from being alone to being a leader. His friends include humans, fairies, and witches. One special one is the blonde girl, Farnese. She's a very interesting character. Born into a rich family, she grew up without love and became emotionally unstable. She dealt with it by burning things, hurting animals, and even hurting people. The only one who could stand her madness was a boy she once saved in the snow. Serpico. Honestly, it might have been better for Serpico to freeze to death. Farnese treated him like a toy, hitting and even biting him. At age 16, when her father set up a marriage for her, she got very angry and burned down their home. The marriage was cancelled. Later, Farnese became the boss of the Holy Iron Chain Knights, the church's special group that killed people who didn't follow the church. Her job was hunting and burning people alive. Since she loved fire since she was a child, she was disturbingly good at it. But while chasing Guts, Farnese lost a fight, and Guts saw her when she was weakest. Promising to kill him, she slowly lost faith. Realizing the church was bad and she was powerless, looking for the truth, she left the church and followed Guts. In my opinion, Farnese is the most interesting girl character in Berserk, both mean and delicate, but later loyal and kind, a truly deep character. Another friend in Guts' group is the witch Shirka. She's kind, honest, and adorable. Even though she's young, she's a master of magic. She can create protection shields, mess up enemies, and make friends stronger. She's the best helper character, but her spells take time and need her spirit to leave her body, so she always needs protection while casting. One of her most important jobs is saving Guts when the Berserker armor tries to take over him. She's the spiritual anchor during his angry fits. She also clearly likes Guts, even though he's much older. All in all, Guts' revenge journey isn't a lonely one. He's surrounded by many different friends. And in that, we see the writer's greatest kindness to Guts. What if the most powerful story ever told in anime wasn't just about swords and demons, but about the pain of being human in a world ruled by monsters? At this point, I've shared a lot about Berserk, but it's only a tiny part of the whole story. There are 5 cartoon versions in total. The first season was shown in 1997. Its pictures were rough because of old technology, but it best showed the horror and fear of the comic book. In 2012 and 2022, new versions of the first season were released, with better pictures but shorter stories. The real continuation came in 2016 and 2017 with Berserk Season 2, which covers Guts' revenge story. It's full of action and excitement from start to finish. I already told you about Season 1 earlier, but if you're interested, I highly suggest watching the original. My summary only tells you the main parts. To truly feel the horror, fear, and violent beauty, you need to experience it yourself. If you don't like old-looking pictures, start with the 2022 remake and use the 1997 version to fill in any missing parts. Thanks for watching Binge Anime, where your next favorite show is always one click away. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for weekly deep dives, rankings, and breakdowns. Until next time, stay obsessed, stay curious, and keep binging.